Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna do a video that was suggested by one of my really good friends. I was hanging out with her yesterday, got to spend some good quality time, and she was saying that I should do, or that she wanted me to do, a video on how I apply my makeup. So not just seeing me put it on, but why I'm doing the motions that I'm doing, or why I'm using the colors that I'm using, the brush that I'm using, etc, etc. So I'm gonna try my best and film that video for you guys right now. Disclaimer, I am not a makeup artist, I am not a beauty guru, I do not have an extensive amount of knowledge as to why I'm doing what I'm doing all the time. Some things just, that's how it works for me, or that's how I've always done it, and it may not be what's technically correct, but it's what I like to do. Take it with a grain of salt, take it for what you will, but let's get into the video. I'm gonna start by priming my face, and this means using something that's designated as being a makeup primer or some sort of moisturizing base with glycerin in it. A lot of people really like the Nivea Men's Aftershave Balm. That's been like a new holy grail development in priming your makeup. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna help the products stick to your skin so they stay in place all day and they just apply easier in some cases. So I'm going in with a BB cream that I really like to use as a base. This is just a sample, like it's a tiny little thing. And generally with primers you need a tiny bit. Always use less than what you think you're gonna need because you can always add more. That's sort of the rule with makeup. You can always add more, but taking away is like the biggest pain. For this instance of foundation, I'm going to be using a liquid foundation. This one is by Maybelline. It is the Instant Age Rewind foundation, just a liquidy foundation. And there's two options of how I like to apply my liquid foundation. First is this brush. So any sort of semi-tight bristled flat brush is going to be really good for applying foundation. Second option is to use a sponge. This one is also by Real Techniques, and sponges will shear out your makeup a little bit, blending it really nicely so it looks more like skin and less like something sitting on your skin. So you take this and you run it under water and give it a couple of pumps until it's fully soaked, and then squeeze it out completely and then dry it off in a hand towel or whatever towel you have lying around. So you want to shake your foundation before you start using it. That way any separation that naturally happens in product gets mixed back together and you get the right formula that you should expect every time. Especially with these sort of bottles that don't have a pump on the top, you don't want to be dipping anything in it or touching the product because you could be forcing bacteria back into the bottle. So what I like to do is take some onto the back of my hand, and again, starting with less than you think that you're going to need. Then what I do from there is I put it onto my face in various places just to distribute it out. I don't like to dip my brush straight into what I've put onto my hand just because I feel like it soaks up product. So I'm going to do this half of my face with the brush and the other half with the Beauty Blender. So I'm going in downward motions, and this is because all of the baby fine hairs on your face, everybody has them, they grow down. So if you kind of swirl it around and buff it in right away, it could look more cakey. So I just like to do sort of downward, and then I'll drag it down onto my neck. And this is so that even if you have a foundation that seems like a perfect match, it could still oxidize, which means that it's going to change color once it sits in the air for a while, and oxygen reacts to whatever chemicals or ingredients that are in the foundation. So that is what I like to do for that. And then I will sort of buff the edges just to make sure that it blends out, and I will go in now and kind of blend it around. So with a sponge, you just want to do patting motions. You don't want to drag it because your foundation can look streaky, sort of as if you were painting. If you were to drag a sponge across a canvas, you would get the streak marks, but if you pat it along, you can't really differentiate where the different lines are. There we go, liquid foundation, 2 ways, either with a brush or a beauty blender. This does sheer it out a little bit, but it has a nice cooling effect when you use the beauty blender because it's dampened with water before you use it. This next step is a controversial step. Some people wait to conceal their under eyes until they're done their eye makeup, and that's because you can have fallout, which is where the eyeshadow, especially in powder form, can sort of dry up and sort of dust off of your brush and onto your under eye area while you're doing your eye makeup. I'm using the Maybelline Superstay Better Skin Under Eye Concealer in the color Light. And what I do is I do small little lines, sort of where my eye would, like if I had bags in my eyes, this is the direction they would go, and then I do a couple of following streaks coming out. And they say you shouldn't dot your concealer on because it's too concentrated or it's just not the right shape to do the moon shape. You want to more come in a triangular shape. It looks more natural, I think. And again, for this, you can either use a brush. There are really flat brushes, which are concealer brushes. They're a little bit hard to work with. I like the Expert Face Brush, and I'll just pat it under the eyes, not dragging it, because again, we don't want any streakiness from the hairs. So just patting it and then moving it along under the eye just to conceal under that. That is what that looks like. Or you can go in again with the Beauty Blender. And this will also help shear out the product to help prevent caking. If you put on too much, it's gonna settle into fine lines and creases. So I'm even taking it down my nose and then sort of out. If you need to conceal anywhere else that you have redness, go ahead and do that. Sometimes I'll get some redness here in between my eyes, around my nose, and I'll usually have some spots down here around my chin. Now what you're going to want to do relatively quickly is set those places that you just concealed and set anywhere that you want to reduce shine, which is normally in what's called the T-zone. So straight across the forehead and down the middle of the face makes a T. That's why it's called the T-zone. It's usually where people tend to get oily. What I like to do for this is I take a translucent powder. This is by Rimmel. It is the Stay Matte Long Lasting Pressed Powder, and this is in transparent. So I take a setting brush, any sort of small brush with fluffy bristles on it. This one is from Real Techniques. It's just called their setting brush. But just swirl it into your powder, tap it off so that any excess falls off, and then I just tap underneath my eye in the place that I put the concealer, and this will prevent that from creasing, settling into fine lines, so that it stays looking fresh. And I'm also going to set in between here. I tend to get oily right here above the brow and then up into my forehead. And I'm gonna set down on my chin as well and the sides of my nose where I had put that concealer. Now this is a little bit of a more, I don't want to say more advanced, but it's like an extra step. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you want to do it, I'm going to tell you how I do it. I'm going to go in kind of contour. I'm not crazy about contouring, but I do like to add a little bit of shape. This is the Chocolate Soleil Medium Deep Matte Bronzer from Too Faced. It is this kind of medium brown color. It's a little bit warm for me, but it's the only thing I have, so I'm working with it. And I'm going in with the Expert Face Brush, and I'm just tapping it into the product. Again, less is more, so always start with less, tap off any excess. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this sort of right in this area. I can see that if you literally feel, you can feel right where that top jawline or your cheekbone is, and that's the place that you want to put the powder. So if you have to physically feel and then put your fingers there, that's where I'm going to brush this product in. And I'm going to stay right here in this area. So I'm going to push that in, leave it, because then what you're going to want to do is blend it out. You can either clean off that brush and blend it out, or get a dense bristle or any sort of like big fluffy brush. This one's from Eco Tools. It's one of their kabuki brushes. Then what I like to do is go in with that and just run it over it to help blend it in. And blending just means that it's going to camouflage and look more like your natural skin. Just like that. So adding just a little bit of contour versus no contour. Generally for bronzing, you'll go in with a warmer color than what you contour with. When you contour, you want more of a gray tone because it looks more like a shadow, which is what you're trying to create. When you're bronzing, you want to use a more yellow golden tone because it looks more like a sun-kissed tan. So for that, I take another fluffy, really loose bristle brush. I'm going in with the same color for the lack of having something better. But you take the fluffy brush, swirl it in the color, tap off the excess, and hit the points where the sun hits you. So you'll have a little bit on your forehead, right in these two sort of side areas, and connected just at the top. Go over the contour and connect the two. So forehead swirling, connecting where you contoured, not coming into this area here, and then connecting down into this lower jaw area and then down the neck. Next, I'm going to apply a little bit of a highlight, and I'm doing this before I apply blush because then the highlight looks more natural. And also, if you're using a cream product like I am, this is a cream stick. You can use powder, you can use cream. If you're using cream, you're going to want to tap it on and not drag it because you can take off your base makeup before it has time to set or anything. This is okay, this isn't too liquidy, and I'm going to apply it again. Find the top of your cheekbone and stay until you reach the corner of your eye. You just want to highlight in that area, right here. Otherwise, you can just sort of look greasy. If you drag it too far over, it can kind of look like too much shine. And always make sure that you blend it in. You don't want to drag it up into your temple or down to where you contoured. You want to stay right on top of your cheekbone. Now I'm going to go in with blush. This is the Milani Powder Blush in Tea Rose. Super pretty color, and I love the packaging and the fact that it's imprinted as a rose on the top. But choose a pink that works with your skin tone or the season that you're in or the mood that you're in, whatever you want. And blush placement does depend on the shape of your face or the look that you're going for. So you can either smile. I have very defined cheek placement. So this is called the apple of your cheek. You want to stay away from this area in here. So anything from this smile area that bubbles up over, stay away from it because you don't naturally flush there. So try and stay on this part of the apple and blend it out and up following your cheekbone. Stay kind of in between where you contoured and where you highlighted. That in-between area is where you want to blend it out. So I'm taking a blush brush from Eco Tools. A lot of them are labeled as blush brushes. This one's a little bit denser, but still has got some fluff in it so you can blend. And again, little is more. So just tap into the product if you're not sure how intense it is. And as you learn or as you figure out how pigmented you want your blush to be, you can go ahead and go in, but just be careful. Blush is something that a little bit can go a long way and a lot can make you look crazy. So I'm gonna go and put my blush just here on the outside and blend it sort of in this area. I'm not coming over into these apples. I'm kind of staying on this outward area here. That's just where I like to apply it lately. You can do whatever you like. Then I'm going to take that big fluffy brush that I use to blend in my contour, and I'm going to blend in the blush. Alright, I'm now going to move on to eyebrows, and there are two different versions that are good to use, simple to use, easier to use, and I kind of play back and forth with both of them. The first is this. It is sort of a pomade idea. This is actually a tattoo eyeshadow by Maybelline. It's part of their Color Tattoo Eye Studio. This is in the color taupe, so it's sort of a gel formula. And then this shade right here is just a taupey eyeshadow that I like to use to fill in my brows. So what you need to use either of these is an angled eye brush. So it's a very thin brush that has a sharp angle to it. Powder is much more forgiving. If you want to use the powder, you can go crazy before you screw up, and it's easy to sort of wipe away. I'm going to go in with the color tattoo because I like something a little bit more permanent and a little bit more bold. So depending where you have sparse areas, just fill in accordingly. You don't want to fill in too much in the middle of your brows. They're naturally sort of more sparse there. Creating a sharp line of like product is going to make it look really drawn in and really unnatural. So I just used short strokes, small little hair-like strokes to draw that in. And the general rule, if you take any of your makeup brushes or a pencil even, if you go from the side of your nose straight up through the corner of your eye, see my eyebrows are a little bit long, but that's okay, they need to be done. Follow it through the center of your eye. If you're looking straight ahead, that's where your arch should be. And then follow it through the edge of your eye, and that's where the end of your eyebrow tail should be. General rule to follow in your shape and forming your eyebrow. You can even go in with either like a white eyeliner pencil. I don't have a white one. I have a skin toned one, but what you can do, go in with a light eyeliner pencil or go in with some sort of really light marking, a really light eyeshadow. Go in and make a mark at each of these places and sort of have a guideline to fill in your eyebrows with. Then it's easier to remove and not noticeable when you need to finish your makeup look. The big thing that people say about eyebrows is they are not twins, they are sisters, so do not obsess over them being identical. There's a big mistake and you'll spend forever and so many frustrating hours trying to sort through that. So just let it be. Next, what I like to do is I like to set them in place. You can do this with a clear mascara or any of the tinted brow gels. This one's from Maybelline. It's Brow Drama is what it's called. It's just sort of like a mascara for your eyebrows. So this one has a little funky brush, but a clear mascara will work perfectly fine. Just brush it through so that all of the hairs stay in the direction that you want them to be going and you don't have any crazy flyaway guys. So I like my brows a little bit darker. This may be too dark for you, but find a color that matches your skin's undertone. So I have sort of cooler tones to my skin, so you want a cooler toned color. If you have warmer tones to your skin, you're gonna want a warmer toned color. Now moving on to actual eyeshadow color. You thought the rest of this took a lot of time? Wait till we get into this. So I use an eye primer. For me, it is a must. I have oily eyelids, and so I have to use some sort of primer. Otherwise, my eyeshadow that's on my eyelid ends up here on my crease, and it can just kind of be a disaster, or it's like half gone throughout the day. So I use a eyeshadow primer, and all I do is I take it on 2 fingers and then just apply it all over my little eyeball. Then you're gonna wanna set this as well. So I just take a fluffy eyeshadow brush and that translucent powder that we used earlier to set everything, and I'm gonna set the eyeshadow base with that. So this is my big fat brush. Just sort of wipe through, tap it off, and cover the entire area with the translucent. Now, I use the translucent powder because a lot of light eyeshadows are pigmented, and I don't want certain colors to be in certain places. So if I set my entire eye with a brightening colors, you know, a white, a light, a pale shade. So if I set it, for example, with any of these colors here, it's going to brighten what I call hoods. So I have sort of hooded eyelids, which means this part kind of droops down into my eye and you can't really see my eyelid itself. So brightening that area is going to bring it forward for me. I want it to set back so I have more of an eyelid showing. That's just why I personally don't like to use the light shades, and I use the translucent instead. Now I'm just gonna do a basic everyday look. I'm not gonna go crazy with my eyes. And I do have, and I use in almost every video, this Tartelette palette. It's all matte shadows. You can find very similar colors in the drugstore, so don't worry about having this, but just trying to give you guys an idea of what you can look for. So I'm gonna stick to this top row here. There's a dark, a semi-dark, a medium, and a light color. I'm probably not going to use this one, but I'm going to take the lightest of the browns, which is this one here. It's called Force of Nature, and a big fluffy blending brush. This is a staple in my eyeshadow collection for brushes. It needs to be in yours if you really want to blend the colors together and kind of get the look that I'm going for here. So find yourself a fluffy brush. This one I got in my Ipsy. It's by Luxie. There are some in the drugstores though. Things like Elf has them. Keep your eyes open. So going into Force of Nature, swirling my brush around, tapping off in the excess. What I'm gonna do is keep my eyes open because I have the hooded lid, and look straight ahead, and I'm going to blend right that color right here on this sort of upper crease that I have. And I'm just going back and forth. They call this windshield wiper motions. Just helps blend it in the area, and then to blend it out, go in circular motions. Now I'm not pressing into my eye and like swirling it around. Really, really light, tight circular motions just to blend. And I'm stopping about here. I don't want it on that inner corner area. It's not where I want the shade to be. So right here, and that's gonna help define and give me more of a crease. So I don't know if you guys can tell, it's a little bit better for me. Just what I like to do, and same on this one. I'm also not going to drag it down into this area. So imagine there's a line coming from your bottom lash line and extending up. Try not to bring the shadows below that, and that will help lift your eye. I'm gonna use the same brush, and I'm gonna go into the next darkest color, sort of stamp some on and tap it off. So the darker you get into the eyeshadows, the less and less you wanna use. So first one, I swirled it in, tapped it off, went in. This one, I just tapped off the excess, and now I'm gonna go in. So this one I'm gonna take on this outer portion of my eye. So right here on that outer corner, I'm gonna tap that on and into the crease, just sort of tapping. And now that I've got the color where I want it, I have a towel on my lap. I'm gonna swirl the brush on that to get some of the excess color off. And now what I'm gonna do is make a V motion. So this comes down, this comes up, blend that in that area. And again, not bringing it further down beyond that line I just talked about. We're gonna blend this in, and I'm gonna blend it over and bring it into the center of my crease now. So staying right in this line. you could stop here if you wanted to. I'm gonna darken it up a little bit and then balance it out by bringing one of the colors onto my lower lash line. I'll show you what I mean. I'm gonna go into the darkest color, again, just a couple of stamps, and I'm gonna darken that outer portion right here. Tap it on, brush off the excess, and I'm just sort of flicking it over to blend it in. I'm not gonna go crazy and drag it, and I'm pretty much just staying on my lid and a little bit into the crease on that outside. Now to balance the look out, I'm taking just this tiny little brush here, and I'm going to take the second darkest color and tap it in. Any sort of small brush that you have. You could go back in and use the angled brush. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this on the lower lash line here and just blend it in. I'm going to stop right where my tear duct is. So I'm going to stop right there. Blend everything else in. So this one is with the lash line sort of balanced, and this is without. Just sort of rounds out the eye look a little bit and helps keep everything cohesive. And what you can do, if it's a little bit too harsh, take any sort of eyeshadow brush and blend out the line. Just go in and sort of smoke it out a little bit. Now before I move on to eyeliner, there's a few sort of ideas, tips, tricks, etc. that I've used to help create sort of the wing look and how to find that. So if you want to take that small brush and with the color that's left on it, go on your lash line and then follow it up. So keep drawing that line as if it were to extend. And I don't know if you guys can see, there's a slight little wing that forms. So if I just follow it, it's gonna create sort of a guideline to where I can put my upper liner. Another trick you can use is Scotch tape. Sounds silly, but it creates a really sharp line. So just take a small piece and put it on the back of your hand first, and then peel that off. Do it a couple of times just so it's not so intensely sticky. And then what you can do is, again, try and find where your bottom lash line would extend up, and if your eyebrow were to continue, where it would meet it. So somewhere in there. And what you can do is just stick it on. Then I'll show you when I go in with the eyeliner. So the easiest thing to start using eyeliner is a powder. I have a loose powder in this lid, and I'm using the angled brush that we used on our eyebrows. I cleaned it off. But going in, tapping the product, tapping off excess, and you want to do this with your eye open. Might be scary at first, but trust yourself. Go in and line just near the lashes, and you can go in and stamp with this, makes it really easy. And then right along the tape, however you want your wing to be, however long, draw it on and connect it over. And you will have your winged eyeliner. The next thing that you can use is a gel eyeliner. This one is from NYX, and it's just in this little pot, and I would use the teeny tiny eyeliner brush. Just go in and tap the product on. It creates sort of like a paint-like scenario. So you can go in and, again, just kind of tap it and make tiny dashes along that upper eye line. It helps sort of make the base of your eyelashes look thicker. It just enhances your general eye shape. You don't have to go all the way over either. So if I only go to about here, which is what I generally like to do, kind of dot it in and fade it out. It helps to open the eye. There's tons of different eyeliner looks for different eye shapes that you're going for. Go with what you feel. So now the outside of this eye is powder, the inside is gel, but I want to show you when you go to take off the tape that there is just this tiny wing there now that was just formed by using the tape, following your eye line. The trick now is going to be trying to get the tape similar to the other side. So you can either continue to use tape, or once you kind of get good at it, you'll kind of figure out where that line is supposed to be. So this side, I had that cheat line from the eyeliner, so I am gonna follow that and then see if they look the same or not. With this, you can also use a felt liner for this. Any of the marker eyeliners. This one is from L'Oreal, the Voluminous Superstar, and same sort of concept. You can go in and right along that upper lash line, just start drawing little dashes to get that outline, and then just draw right where you want the wing to be. Then again, we're gonna go in and just remove the tape, and that created a different kind of wing. Once you remove the tape, you can go in and play and equalize and sort of see how they look. So the powder gives it more of like a feathery faded look, where the marker is a sharper, more defined eyeliner. And wing liner is gonna drive you crazy. My wings are not equal. I'm not a perfectionist about this at all. I know it's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of practice. So practice, don't get frustrated with it. Start with powder, it's more forgiving, it's easier to work with. And then you can always go over the powders with either the gel liner or the marker liner and create a more defined line. So you can kind of create a stencil for yourself to then go over with and create that sharp line. If you want to, you can go ahead and do your upper inner lash line with any sort of, I like black eyeliner. It just helps to intensify that upper lash line, make it dark, make it really defined. And you can either go in and just kind of draw it in like this, or if you need to, at this point it's difficult to do, especially with eyeshadow, you can lift up your eyelid and see where you're going. If you want to do it, maybe do it before you do your eyeshadows. I just go in and kind of draw it on after though. Also, if you want your eyes to pop a little bit, be a little brighter, you can go in with any sort of nude eyeliner, white eyeliner, pink eyeliner, whichever you prefer, and line your lower lash line right in here, called your waterline. Right in there. I like a nude color. It's a little bit more natural, but this is the nude liner, this is without the nude liner, and that's just the difference between the two. Then next to last is lashes. There's so many different formulas of mascara. Pick whichever one you like, experiment with the different kinds of brushes, and you'll find what formulas you like, waterproof, black, brown, blackish brown, whichever. Definitely though, go invest in an eyelash curler. There's ones that are like $1 and there's ones that are way more expensive. Just find one that works and go into your lashes. If you're new to it, keep your eye open and just get the tips and curl, and then you'll know if you can go in closer. If you get too close, it does pinch a little bit, but it's not like in your eye, so don't worry about that. But go in, so I usually go in straight, grab my lashes and pick them up. Then I'll hold it for 5 seconds. I'll release, and then hold again for another 3 to 5 seconds. Now I'm gonna go in with this one. It is the Supersizer by CoverGirl. It's got a funky, like rubber bristle brush to it. And what I'm gonna do is go right into my lashes, right at the base where they connect to my eyelid, and shake it back and forth all the way across. And then I'm gonna comb it out. And that's just so I make sure that I get the base covered. And then I go in for length. There's different ways people will apply it. Some people blink to get the ends of the lashes. If you have to do that, go for it. If you don't, that's cool too. I'm gonna go over with a waterproof coat just because I am going out tonight and I want to make sure that stays. That first one is not waterproof. So this is just a second layer. You can mix formulas like I am, just to get different effects, different looks, different brushes. And this second coat is Lash Sensational by Maybelline. So you can see the difference that mascara makes. With, without, it's always a with for me, even if I'm not really wearing any makeup. Mascara, eyebrows, lips. Those are my musts. Okay, now that I've let my mascara dry, so I let it sit for a little while to dry, this is a crucial step for me, and it's going in with a finishing spray. I never understood how important this was until I started setting my makeup with sprays. So this is the NYX Matte Finish long-lasting setting spray. L'Oreal came out with one, Maybelline just came out with one, NYX has them, they're affordable, they have different finishes. This one is a matte one. If you have drier skin and you like a more glowy look, you can go for a dewy finish one, but it just helps the products on your face blend together, make you not look like you have a cake face. You want to make sure your mascara is set, or do this before you apply your mascara so it doesn't get all over your face, but you just pretty much go to town and set that makeup. Now that it's all set, the last thing you can go in and do is lips. This can make or break whatever your outfit is, whatever your face is for the day. Normally I go in with a bold lipstick, but for this video I'm keeping it simple, easy out the door every day. This is the Colorish Balm, which is by L'Oreal, and this is in the color Caring Coral. I'm gonna go in with a lip tinted balm and a gloss. My lips are dry, it's winter, but any sort of color, so we'll just finish the look. These are non-fussy products to get you out the door, carry with you. Doesn't worry if they come off during the day. So going in with that balm and going over with a gloss. And this is the Oh My Gloss from Rimmel, I think? Yeah, Rimmel London Oh My Gloss in Glossaholic is the color. And what I did after I put on the gloss, I sort of made a hook out of my finger and went like this. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna take the product off the inside of your lips so it stays off of your teeth. It's more apparent with darker colors, but still nice to do no matter what. So that is it. That's everything I do pretty much on a daily basis. This would be my everyday face. I hope the sort of tips that I could remember helped you guys out. If you have any questions, or if there's anything that I should have pointed out, or like any tips you guys can think of that I could include in a future video, let me know. Leave a comment down below if you want me to do any like area specific tutorials. So if you want me to really concentrate on one area, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate every view that I get, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you guys next time.